All right, good day everyone. It is a big pleasure to be here today. Yes, like you heard, my name is Adekola Adeola, and I bagged my first degree in 2015. Was a first class honors in industrial chemistry. Thank you very much. While that sounds exciting to you, it was of a very serious concern to me at the time. And the reason was because it seemed like everybody could predict that one thing or that one path that I needed to follow in life to have what seemed like a successful life, so to say. And so my well-meaning parents, my lecturers in society, everybody, the voices around me were just go for your master's degree and then a PhD and then academic researches, become a lecturer, and then that will be a successful life. Meanwhile, deep down, I had known that I wanted to explore a number of things. I was very interested in radio presentation, voiceover artistry, hosting events, coaching teenagers, and of course writing. But at the time, I didn't have the courage to face my parents and look them in the face that, hey dad, hey mom, I mean, if I'm even going to be one thing at all, then it definitely will not be with the chemistry certificates that you'll find so interesting. I'm sure that you can be thinking of the responses that they'll give me. And so I just decided to follow suit with all that the society expected of me at the time. So I started out my master's degree. But sadly along the line, I fell terribly ill. In the space of 3 months, I was in 5 different hospitals fighting for my life. Eventually, I had been diagnosed with an illness that needed me to manage my health on a pill of drugs every single day. As I was trying to adjust to this new kind of life, one of those mornings, it dawned on me that if I had lost my life in the battle that I had faced, in that life-threatening illness, then would I have had the courage to say that the life I lived prior to that incident was commensurate to every single thing that I had on the inside of me? Would I have been satisfied to say that every single possibility that I had on the inside of me was explored and was tapped into, and every potential was maximized? The answer was clear. It was a no. And so that morning, I walked up to the mirror with so much determination in my words, and of course with tears in my eyes. I promised myself that for every single thing that I had on the inside of me, for every possibility, for every potential, for every ability, I was going to do my best to ensure that it comes out as much as it should. Thankfully today, that was the beginning of the journey to breaking the norm for me. Thankfully today, I have worked as a radio presenter and programs manager at an online radio station. I'm the creative lead of a broadcast organization. I'm a teams coach. I'm a writer. I work as a quality control officer, where I finally put my degree to use. All of this, thank you very much. All of this would have not been possible if I was not challenged beyond the norm. And that brings me to the conclusion that maybe we were not designed to be just one thing. Growing up, every child is asked, what do you want to be when you grow? And to give a smart response is say, I want to be a doctor. How many of us have that? All right. But I want to be a lawyer or a pilot or what have you. While it's good that we help our children shaping their vision of what their future should look like, I think it is limiting and demeaning that we also tell our children that the decades that they have to spend on the earth is encapsulated in just one thing. I think it's limiting and demeaning to believe that the journey that should take us through life should just be involved in just one monotonous vehicle. As we all are seated here, I strongly believe that each person individually are a bundle of things, a bundle of potentials, a bundle of abilities, a bundle of dreams that if deliberately paid attention to can result into the realization of a beautiful life. To make it less abstract for many of us, being more than one thing is not necessarily being the big things. I mean, you could be a teacher who bakes and who also loves to sign up people for their big events. You could also be a doctor who is humorous and because of the humor deals into skit making. And while he's not saving lives in the hospital, he's right there on the screen of many others, mending sad hearts. And because he's also passionate about driving, he's out there driving loads of charitable goods for a charitable organization across states. It doesn't really have to be the big and mighty things, but indeed, we may have not been designed to be just one thing. And in case somebody here is considering, you've seen only one thing play out in your entire life, and then you're asking yourself or telling yourself that this does not really apply to you. Before you come about that conclusion, let me take you through this. Some talents, some passions, and some potentials are seen and identified as talents and potentials and passions. For example, singing and dancing. If you can sing, you generally can sing. If you cannot dance like myself, no matter how hard you try, people will still laugh at you cannot dance. So passions and potentials are not seen and identified as passions at all. For example, talking. You can tell the number of times that we have shown many people around us to stop talking too much. And we also shun the possibilities of the many things that they can become by talking deliberately and professionally. Some talents and potentials and passions are also deeply embedded and you cannot find them just by surface catching. And so it's very important that you search deeply. Most craft-oriented potentials are like this. So if your potential or passion is probably deeply embedded, I'd recommend that you do these 5 things. First, take yourself out of the experience of the kind of life that you always have had. For instance, if you are that guy who has the ability to be that driver that drives loads of charitable goods across states, but you grew up in a community where nobody knows anything about cars or what a car is or what a car does, then your personal life experience has limited the number of possibilities of what you can become. And so it's very important sometimes that you see life outside the horizons of everything that you always have seen. Second, ask yourself, what childhood dreams and desires you had before the world began to breathe their own standards into your ears? Third, take personality type tests. Personality type tests, genuinely answered, will profile you with a number of amazing things that you can become based on your traits and based on amazing things that you have. Fourth, take deep reflections. Deep reflections always have a way of reaching out to the corners of ourselves that we do not know that existed before we took deep reflections. Then finally, see yourself in the eyes and lenses of those who value you and see you rightly for who you are. At the end of these 5 things, I'm sure that you'd agree with me that maybe you were not designed to be just one thing. However, I think the major thing that is limiting us from bringing the number of possibilities of things that we can be is a struggle to come out from our comfort zones. But are comfort zones really comfortable? I think comfort zones provide us with the less work and less stress and relaxation, but it comes at the expense of wing soaring. It comes clipping our wings, and then we have less work indeed, but we have limitations to how much we can become. I think comfort zones are just that mindset that we refuse to push any further, because we know that pushing will require more from us than we really want to give. And so our comfort zones are not comfortable. I think the real comfort should come from the realization that I am all that I can be, and I'm pushing real hard to be everything that I really can be. Also, it comes with the tone of fear, of the feeling of fear when you choose to step out of your comfort zone and be all that you really want to be. I mean, it is easier to be like every other person, and it's easier to be the same way you always have been. And so when the feeling of fear comes, I remember the words of Marianne Williamson. She says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that often frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? These words have made me realize that my fear is actually not failure. My fear is accepting and unraveling the box of the many things that I am, of the depths and wealth of the things that lie on the inside of me. So even in the feeling of fear, I go all out and do it all the same, because there's depth and richness on the inside of me that the world needs to see, that needs to be manifested. To bring a balance and a juxtaposition to this, I think it's important that we note that being more than one thing is not necessarily you being everything at the same time. Sometimes it's being just one thing per season and knowing the most important thing that you're supposed to be in each season. For instance, sometimes I'm just a teens coach who's paying attention to structuring the lives of many teenagers across the globe. Some other times, I'm just a quality control officer, and work at the office is the most important thing I have to deliver. Sometimes I'm just an uncle, a brother, and a son, and I count those very important life responsibilities too. At the end of the day, I think it's a combination of everything that we have become that is most important, and not the pressure of doing so much all at once. Despite all that has been said today, I think the most terrible thing about being just one thing is for those who have accepted, who have folded their arms, who have decided that the only thing that they will become is that challenge that they have been through. Those who have accepted that the only thing that will define them is that abuse and violation, that health condition, that doctor's reports. And so they sit down wallowing in self-pity and expecting to be the object of pity of every other person around. Their possibilities are shut out, their mindset is shut out, their abilities shut out, and nothing more can come out of them because they have chosen to be just one thing, that challenge. Well, I think it's very detrimental to sit down and believe that that's the only thing that can come out of you. Ever since I got up from my almost deathbed, I made a vow to myself that I was going to be everything that I can be and watch wherever that leads me. I can assure you that it has been a more fulfilling and a more satisfying life since then. I know that you also deserve that level of fulfillment and satisfaction, and that's why I'm putting it to you this morning. And maybe you really were not designed to be just one thing. Thank you very much.